think we're live.
I believe we are live.
What's going on, Jimmy? It's a pleasure being able to speak with you.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm really happy that we figured it out.
Absolutely. How's everything on your end today?
So is that on my end?
What's that?
That echo.
I'm not sure. I hear it. So it might be coming from your end. It's coming out of my speakers.
Okay, problem solved. You'd think I'd stop doing that, like eventually, but I never do.
Oh, good.
So see what happens is I open the YouTube to share it around, and then I forget to close it, and then when we go live, there's that 5-second delay, and then it does that. This is kind of becoming my thing to like echo myself out. Anyway, apologies for that. Wouldn't be a good show if I didn't do it.
That's right. Yeah, wouldn't be the same.
So we're going to do something a little bit different. Actually, you're going to interview me, which I'm kind of excited about because that means I can just kind of focus on the answers and do stuff. So do you want to tell everyone why you want to interview me and give that introduction maybe?
Sure. Well, I've been hanging out in the Telegram channel for a month, little over a month now, I think. And I've gotten to know the team just through talking to you guys on here. And I've been watching your Dackathon videos almost on the daily now. So, and you're always the one that's doing the interviewing and asking the questions. So I figured, you know what, it'd be good to just to talk to you one-on-one and let the community know just who you are. And yeah. So that's basically why I wanted to do this, just to raise some awareness on Jimmy D is and yeah, just how cool you are.
Sweet. Yeah. And like you said, like you guys in the community channel, I always enjoy whenever I get a chance to go in there. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I totally want to bust into that. But, you know, as has become the kind of thing for this channel, I would actually like to quickly just drop by into the game and do some gratitudes because I would think that that's kind of cool. And I'd like to put my, you know, gratitude up and hopefully you as well. So let's see if we share this application window, that should get us to where we want to be. And I see actually Sue Gentry in the game.
Hey,
and Sue actually just the other day decked out my little island here. And she built like an outdoor fireplace that I just saw. So thank you, Sue. She built me a really cool house because it was just a bed in the middle of the forest.
Wow. Dude, man, I've been loving the builds you guys have been showing off.
Yeah, these guys are kind of next level, some of them. Like wow. she's even got like dinner cooking in here, man. Like it's great.
That's awesome. Is that a tree inside there?
Where was that?
Is that a tree or I guess it's a plant in the corner?
Yeah. Outside. But yeah, there are some potted plants maybe.
Okay, all that. Nice.
That's kind of cool. So yeah, we're on the Generator spot, which is the one that I'm kind of working on. And I'm going to put you on the big glass wall in the middle of the ocean. And I am actually super grateful to be interviewed by you. And that's going to be my gratitude. What's going on here?
This is my second gratitude so far on the wall.
Oh, nice. Yeah, where should we put you? I'm going to put you right here. Jimmy D is grateful. It's not going to work. For this time with Raul, Brillo.
Brito.
Sorry,
No worries, no worries.
Brito.
Sue Gentry. Who is Jimmy Dewey?
And interview. Grateful for this. And interview. It's a little bit strange, but let's go with that. Okay. And what do you got for us, Raul? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for, I'll keep it simple and say I'm grateful for opportunities. Yeah, was it even a week that I was hanging out in the Telegram channel and I had an idea of making a little YouTube video on the Uplift. And Corey came on out and asked if I wanted to interview him. And that sparked this whole
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
She really likes snack time, apparently.
Yeah, don't we all?
Well, yeah, I really thought that interview was really well done, and I'm sorry, that interview was really well done, and so I was super excited to see that. So I'm excited to be here with you today, talking about me and the Uplift and a bunch of other questions that you had as well. So let me just stop that screen share and get back to it.
Cool. Right. Yeah. So definitely, I wanted to shine a light on you and just who you are. But then also, I hope that this video would kind of serve as a one-stop shop for a lot of the questions that we see on a regular in Telegram. So why don't we start off with who you are? And I guess your background and just your involvement in the crypto and Uplift space.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
They always decide to throw a tantrum at opportune times.
Of course, yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good.
I really probably should get an office, and usually she's in bed. I'm probably in the doghouse now because I kicked them out of the living room. So, but anyway, sorry. So one more time. What was that question?
No problem. I was just asking. I'd like to know, or start off on just who you are and your involvement in the crypto Uplift space.
Sure. It's a kind of a long story, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible. I wasn't really into technology or games or even blockchain. I was an educator. I lived in Hawaii for a couple of years. I found permaculture, which is a whole scale design science, basically, that revolves around not only sustainability and resource management, but actually reprocuring what was good in the earth to begin with. So bringing back life as opposed to just trying to stop using it. And I got involved in some permaculture projects in Hawaii doing that, and it really spoke to me. So I did 2 permaculture design courses, one in New Zealand and one in Australia. And then I ended up coming back to Japan. And I was going to maybe study that a little bit more, but I was maybe going to do like a doctorate or something in it, but they didn't want me to do what I wanted to do, and they wanted me to do something else. And I just kind of said, screw this, I'm not going to do it. It was around about the time that I found blockchain and crypto. A friend of mine called me up and he said, hey, they're having this meetup. Do you want to come and check this Bitcoin thing out with me? He's kind of tech savvy. So we went. And the next thing you know, a couple months later, we ended up like basically hosting our own community meetups here in Japan. which kind of fell apart, when the bear market happened, which is around the same time as EOS had their ICO. And we kind of had an airdrop group where we were trying to like research airdrops and stuff. And I just kind of let that fall to the wayside because I was really interested in EOS. And I was one of the only people in my little group of people that actually went into EOS because, EOS is kind of a love-hate relationship type of thing for a lot of crypto people. So yeah, I started hanging out online mostly with other people, that had similar ideas to me. And the first article I actually ever wrote was on a platform called Tribe One, which was looking at permaculture and blockchain and the synthesis there and the ideologies that like kind of brought me into blockchain, but also like I held from permaculture. And I think a lot of these ideas could or potentially are very similar if you look at it from the ground level and the usefulness of this. Through that, I met a few people in Tribe, and I entered a content competition for a stellar Lumens content competition. And I decided to write it a little bit strangely. So I decided to write it in the first person, as if I was, stellar. Because, I kind of feel like I am stellar sometimes. Sure. Sorry. but no, seriously. So I wrote that and I think I got like second place. And wow. I was kind of curious, like what I did wrong. So I emailed the dude who was kind of in charge and he like wasn't very happy at all. Cause he's like, everyone just keeps telling me like they should win and all this stuff. And so I got talking to him and, we actually became friends. And then I actually started volunteering and managing the content competitions on Tribe, which kind of led for me to like become an editor and kind of get involved on that side of things. And through that, I was publishing content. I was writing a lot of content, and I found Mblue's content on YouTube. And he was. It's kind of the beginning stages, way back. This is a couple of years ago, in thinking about how charity and blockchain could manifest itself. And so I went into his Telegram group, and we got talking. We got talking about permaculture. We had a couple, chats, and we realized that a lot of our ideas kind of resonated with one another. So we worked with a bunch of other people to try to start this project, which at the time then was Uplift Nation. And what we wanted to do was we actually wanted to bring like transparency to blockchain and charity, partially because of my permaculture ideas and partially because of, his experiences. If you have listened to him with, his adoption process in Haiti. That went all okay. There were some pretty funny stories in there. Like we had a team of like some pretty heavy hitters that were, doing coding and stuff in the background and trying to figure out stuff. And I mean, I remember the funniest moment for me was when we thought we had like Dan Larmer's attention and we were going to get a bunch of money from him. And it turned out to be like a fake Dan Larmer. Like he was basically asking us to pay for his attention. The biggest problem that we had with that project really was the scope was so big and the regulatory clarity under, what happens in the US, especially in terms of like taxes and returns and how people like, let's say you wanted to donate to Uplift, would you be able to get a tax write-off? And so this is problematic. And it was about around the time that happened that Mblue decided he was going to make the first music video on the blockchain. And that's kind of where Uplift Art started. And that kind of ported the old Uplift project into Uplift Art, into this like new business model. And me being the content person, by this time I had worked for a bunch of different companies off and on, but I was still, quite interested in what Uplift Art did. I was writing a lot of content for pushing out information and stuff like that. When all of the first drops started to happen in the Uplift Art, I was porting over what we were trying to do from the old, system into, writing promotional articles for people to see what Mblue had created with the art. And that kind of led to me meeting Corey, because Corey and Mblue did the collaboration, which was I'm Not the Bubble.
Right.
And Corey wanted to bring me on one time to interview me, very similar to like this. And we just really clicked. And we were like, hey, you want to do like a weekly show? Like, let's do like EOSIO Weekly Update. So I started doing EOSIO Weekly Update. And at that time, I think Corey had the idea of the Uplift world in the back of his head. But, you know, we weren't really focused on it at that point in time. And so we started doing these updates where we put together posts. You can still see quite a few of them on the Medium channel that I linked below. But we would complement these EOSIO weekly posts with a guest here and there. And we would also bring on, we would also do it live on the internet. And then MBlue and Corey got talking, and they decided like, hey, wait, this thing could actually work. Like we could actually bring, you know, this to the blockchain. And I wasn't privy to the, you know, back end conversations, so I can only tell you the end game. But the end game, what came out of that was essentially the Uplift art. And I remember like early days, it was quite funny for me because, you know, I wasn't a gamer. I didn't play Minecraft. I didn't know what was going on. And Corey's like, hey, do you want to like let's rebrand our channel? Like let's do it like 5 days a week, and let's make everyone at the beginning of the show do gratitudes. And like, I'm a big fan of like creative philanthropy, and I like the idea of gratitudes. But for me, I was coming from the space of, you know, we want to be like a legit crypto like interview channel, right? And I said, I'm not so sure about this. Like, okay, let's do it for like a week or something. He's like, dude, seriously, give me 2 weeks. Like, just give me 2 weeks. And if you don't like it, after that, we'll scrap it. We'll scrap the whole thing. We never have to do gratitudes on the show again. I think he got like 1.5 days before
Wow.
I was like, so I think just the community and the aspects, and that's basically how I became involved. You know, it's a rock star team. I write as much content as I can to put stuff out there. A lot of times, sometimes, you know, they ask me to write stuff. Sometimes it's just on my own ambition for both projects. And yeah, like I do actually content for a few other projects as well. Like I'm a sitting a member on a couple DACs as well that I write some content for. I write some content for EOS Go actually, and some other you know, well-known you know, media outlets in the space. Manage like a bunch of those types of things. But my heart is kind of right now with still the Uplift, because I really like. See, I don't feel so bad now.
Can I just pause you for a quick second? My kid, yeah, she's demanding that I open the door and let her out. Come here. Okay. Come here. Come on. Okay, come on. Oh yeah. Monster. Yeah, that's Nikki. Yeah, she's mean to everyone in the house except for me, but she's slowly but surely warming up to everyone.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's kind of like what I am when I first got into the crypto space.
Mean to everybody. Yeah.
Mean to everybody. Just no, but it's really easy to be mean to everybody in the crypto space, because like not even trying to be mean, but it's really difficult to find places that you can trust. So yeah, I guess that's the big overview outline for me. But for me, I pretty much only, you know, work for projects that I have some. I don't do this for the money, right? If I wanted to do this for the money, I'm hoping at some point things will change, right? But if I wanted to do this for the money, I would have sold out long time ago, right? So I do it, you know, for the projects that I think have a big goal, number one, but also a big possibility that they could actually change the way that we live in this world. So yeah,
that's awesome. I have a lot of friends who still haven't jumped in, and you know, it's volatile still in a lot of ways. Would you go into the kind of landscape that we're seeing right now as far as crypto, NFTs, and just everything that's kind of out there? Quick little overview.
Sure. So yeah, I lost a lot of money in the 2008 bear run. Like and like define a lot, but like when I say a lot, like I mean a percent of what I put in. Is, you know, just recently maybe came back. Some of it still, some of it I'll never see it back. But like back, I was kind of late as well. Like I think I got in around 2017, just before everything took off.
Oh well, gotcha. Okay.
So like essentially I bought most of my stuff at the top and all the way down. So like it took me there was a lot of hard lessons where like I was trying to trade for a while, and even though I'm not a bad trader, like timing that market was horrible. Like there was a lot of manipulation. Why I'm mentioning this is I think things have changed now. I wasn't in it for I was kind of in it for the technology, but I wasn't necessarily in it for the same reasons that I am now. It's funny because when I think about what I'm doing now in the space, it has nothing to do with like making money. Like as crazy as that sounds, I just don't have time to be looking at charts and making money, right? Which is crazy because like that's probably what I should have learned how to do. A good friend of mine, he got wrecked multiple times. Because he was learning how to trade, you know, on leverage and use options and things like that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure one of these days he's going to figure it out and he's just going to be over the moon, right? But he's been, you know, basically wrecked multiple times in the process, right? When I got into it, it was kind of like buy token, go up, cash out, buy beach house. That was the type of, you know, now it's like token price don't matter. Go into Uplift world, look at beach house that Sue Gentry built Jimmy D on Gentry Osity Island. So it's kind of like, I don't know where we're headed, but I do know that we're headed in a direction that I don't think even Satoshi himself would have foreseen. The ability of Ethereum and Vitalik Buterin to come up with this idea of bettering Bitcoin by writing in smart contracts. That was absolute genius. The ability of then those smart contracts to be able to be ported over to things like art and DeFi and NFTs, that was genius. And the ability of EOS and in particular Wax, which is so underrated at the moment. I just can't believe it. And it's, you know, went up a lot in the last little bit. To make that easy for the everyday user. I think we're at the cusp of, you know, something that's going to be pretty amazing to witness, like potentially the cusp of like world changing like ramifications whereby people will actually be able to almost live in a community where they can determine their own future in various ways as what might have only been possible in a small town in the 1950s or 60s in America. Like when you have that opportunity to be able to start your own business, start your own restaurant, you know, buy a shop when things weren't overpriced, when things weren't overvalued, when community was still a part of something and kind of, you know, work for yourself. That was kind of the dream, right? Back in that historical era of progress in the US and I'm sure in other countries at other points in time as well. But I think we're on that cusp now where we have all these people on the internet, all of these artists, all of these musicians that will actually be able to tap into this blockchain technology and prove ownership and get beyond the system that basically makes them jump through hoops in order to put their information out there, right? We've seen it in gaming. We've seen it in YouTube. We've seen it in live streaming already. But there was no verifiable means up until this point to be able to actually capitalize upon that. If that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely a lot to study up on, you know, because I guess the information isn't so readily available just yet. But I just keep getting blown away by all the new stuff that keeps coming out. You know, I've been through Dackathon. I discovered DAOs and DAX and kind of threw me for a loop for a little bit as to like how can there be autonomous companies, you know, but it's all amazing. Can you speak on DAOs and DAX and the whole Dackathon series that you've been doing?
Yeah, so the Dackathon series is interesting. I met Dwayne and Max a while ago. One of the projects that I'm actually associated with is Boyd. If you don't know what Boyd is, you definitely should. Those guys are doing amazing things. Basically, they are setting up a supercomputer that can be used to run complex mathematical calculations to do crazy things like solve cancer or, find a cure for COVID. And that's just the beginning, right? They've done stuff with like celestial objects and like tons of calculations, right? They're kind of going through a little bit of a phase now where they're changing it over to make it easier for users and stuff like that. But I was in charge back in the day of doing their podcasts, and we would interview different projects that were working as a Boyd team. Mm-hmm. And I met Max and Dwayne back then. And I like Max a lot from an artist perspective, and from he's quite an intelligent person. But I really resonate with Dwayne, and the reason I resonate with Dwayne is because Dwayne as well has these undertones of like permaculture. And so when they approached us to do the Dackathon, I thought this is really interesting. If you've watched any of our shows where Dwayne's been on, usually at the end, me and Dwayne, we end up like reverting to this whole like Dacs can save the world if they're like permaculturally endowed type of philosophy, right? At that time, I'm not a part of the Crown DAC, actually. I just don't have time for it. Nothing against it. Love the Crown people. But at that time, when I first met them, I was actually a part of the Vigor DAC. And the Vigor DAC, if you don't know what Vigor is, it's a DeFi protocol that allows people to essentially, put up their own collateral and then, take out a loan on it. So it's really powerful because you can leverage your portfolio without having to sell it, right? Obviously, it's dangerous. Obviously, there's risks. Obviously, you have to be careful. This happens a lot on Ethereum. There's lots of rug pulls and stuff like that. But I got involved with the Vigor DAC. There's a stand-up group of people. We were on meetings every week, and I just saw the power in being able to do this. So since then, actually, Boyd has become a DAC. They're using a different software. They're not using EOS DAC software. They're using Daclify and Blockbase as well. I'm also a member of the Blockbase DAC. And if you don't know what Blockbase is, Blockbase basically allows for encrypted data storage that people themselves can become node providers and essentially set their own prices on that data storage thing. And so for me, those two projects and DAX in particular kind of hold a lot of resonance, and Vigor as well, because now what you have is this group of people who can come together and anyone can get involved, right? Like, I mean, let's say the Uplift becomes a DAC at some point, right? For example, Raul, you're here all the time. I see you in the Telegram channel. I see you answering questions. I see you doing your thing. I see you, having fun. If there's a DAC, all of a sudden you can come in, you can write out your profile. You can start to work. You can start to get rewarded, usually in some sort of DAC token. And you can, essentially get yourself, I got to watch what I say here, but essentially get yourself a job, put yourself on the payroll of any company that you want to put yourself on. Now, whether you get voted, whether you get tokens is up to the acting members of the DAC and how the DAC is set up. But essentially, instead of having to go and interview with one person, it's a community of people that might find value in your skills. And I think that's really empowering because that allows people to be able to set up organizations, not only for governance or for corporations or for companies, but even for simple things like community, voting, rules, regulations. I mean, where I'd like to see it go is taxes. I mean, I would love to see, so I'm actually a history professor. That's one of my many hats that I wear as well. But I like economics and history. I used to teach in the US, and I used to get in trouble all the time because I used to criticize American politics, and I used to get told if I didn't like America, I should go back to Canada. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But even education, right? Like, what do we teach our kids at school, right? Like, especially private schools, things like this. I see so many potential applications for DAX that it's crazy, right? I don't think that, living in a world where there's an open, transparent ledger, and then still have one guy in charge of, how the company uses that makes a lot of sense, right? We need to kind of go full circle and bring about that, even like where I would like to see it actually applied is taxes, right? People pay taxes. They should be able to go on to a DAC and decide where their tax money gets spent, right? And I think like this modern idea, this modern notion of government is you vote somebody in and then that person decides what to do with the money is crazy. I think there needs personally to be a different step in there. You vote somebody in, that somebody gets to propose ideas, and then you get to go back in and vote on those ideas that they propose. Right. And I think this is where structures like DAX could actually really have a lot of impact on the real world. Right. Because, if we look at it's kind of like a more efficient organization of what the original plan for the US governmental system is, if that makes sense. Not trying to step on my own foot or burn my hand here, but that's kind of the way that I see it. Right. There's some top-down authority, but for the most part, there's a lot of autonomy allowed without various groups or states, if you will, or regions within states, if you will. Apply that to any corporate structure, and that's kind of what I believe is the power behind what potentially DAX could bring to the world.
And all of that in layman terms. I'm telling you, man, yeah, I will get that.
It's funny because like I don't even realize half the time what I'm talking about is like that difficult, because like that's the thing, your journey, your foray into crypto becomes like it becomes an overall learning process, right? And so I'm not sure what I'm talking about is making sense, because I'm not really sure what aspects aren't making sense. Like, is it the political aspect? Is it the governmental aspect? Is it the DAX aspect? I guess so. In layman's terms, I think what a DAC has the potential to do is connect community to the government or the governing principle of whatever organization that they're connected to. It gives them that power to have a voice, to have a say in the decisions that they're making, whether it be financial, whether it be political, whether it be environmental, whether it be the direction that a game is going to take, for example. Right. Yeah.
That's big. They're definitely here. DAOs and DAX are definitely here. How long until it's mass adopted, you think?
So again, this is probably more political than it needs to be, just coming from my background. But I think that the major problem right now with a lot of governments around the world is that people just don't care. They don't. The US, again, is a special case. People really have this idea that they need to vote. Australia, I think it's Australia, makes their citizens vote. Like, you have to vote, even if there's no good choice. I think by law you have to do it. Japan, where I live, has one of the lowest voter turnouts in the world. It's like 20% of the people, because a lot of people know that no matter who they vote for, nothing's going to change. So it's just a waste of their time to go stand in line in the polls and do it, right? So I guess to your question is, I think it's going to be really difficult, but I think what you're going to see is you're going to see certain corporations, maybe, okay, I have no inside information. I'm just, shooting it out there. But if you look at the way that like Google operates, for example, I mean, they've got ping pong tables in the office buildings. If you want to go outside and work, sitting under a tree, you're allowed to do that. And there's a lot of companies that have modeled this political structure. And I think maybe some small businesses are going to be next. They're going to be looking at DAX and DAOs, or maybe even within a company like Google itself, instead of having like one manager, they will have a team that is organized by DAX or DAOs, like that kind of structure where that might actually be useful. So I don't necessarily think that all DAX and DAOs necessarily need to be on the blockchain. I think the concept is much bigger. It's also really difficult, I think, to get people to hand over power. that they have. So
Absolutely.
I don't see governments adopting this so readily, so quickly. But I do see like maybe small businesses or software companies or projects or even, technological companies potentially that are going towards on-chain management to be able to do this, or communities maybe. Yeah, the short answer is I have no idea, but not soon enough, in my opinion.
Gotcha. And that leads me to a little curveball that I wanted to throw in here. I don't know if you're able to talk about it just yet, but how do DAOs fit in with the Uplift?
I think they fit in with the Uplift, but I'm not sure we even know how yet. And one of the things I love about sometimes as a person who has to write things or speak about things, it's really problematic. But for the most part, one of the things I really like about working with Uplift Art and the Uplift world is there's no such thing as a straight ball. Like everything is fast, and we just basically push something out there and see how it works. And the best part about that is if things happen to change direction, it's no skin off of anyone's back, because we weren't really expecting it to work in the first place. we were expecting it to be adapted and moved and improved upon and built upon. I think everyone in the Uplift community in the Uplift community as well, but they are visionaries in the sense that they don't have a product in mind. They have something that they're going to build before they build something else.
That's good.
And so I think from what I would say that there's multiple avenues whereby DACs and DAOs could potentially be incorporated on a higher level, but even within like a smaller community level. And I don't think we have an answer for that yet. I mean, we've got some ideas that are revolving around. And it's definitely something that like a lot of people on the Uplift team are interested in. Some of us having sat on multiple DACs even together. I mean, Uplift Nation, before it actually rebranded into Uplift Art, that was actually a DAC. That was a DAO that was set up, back in the day with M Blue, myself, and 5 or 6 other people who were kind of co-founders at the time. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these elements come back into the fray now that the building phase is out. What I will say, one thing I will say about DACs and DAOs though is they have their place. I've been witness to a couple projects where if they would have been like full-fledged DACs or DAOs, other than like just in kind of name only for the initial open phases, nothing would have ever gotten done. Right. I think there needs to be that authoritarian, especially like for the building and the programming phase, there needs to be that almost like somebody who's in charge. Right. I think once the protocol is deployed and once the code or the project or the game or the whatever you're doing is out there, then turning it over to the community is the smart move. But I think like starting off with just building a project with a DAC or a DAO, it might not be as efficient as going the other way. So I would say when DACs and DAOs do get implemented into the Uplift world, at that time, it'll be more of a kind of open source model as opposed to having the situation where we are now, where we're trying to onboard people, we're trying to bring on projects, we're trying to get people in the game playing. It's not necessarily the optimal time. So once all of that is kind of hashed out and settled, I would say probably we will have a better idea of how those elements can fit into the equation, I think.
Got it. I've been doing a little bit of studying, and I know Corey talked a little bit about Art Planet. So yeah, I was a little interested. Had to ask because he had mentioned it.
I actually, if you don't mind, I just want to explain this.
Sure, yeah.
Because it was popped up on the thing. So what is the difference between a DAC and a DAO? Well, a DAC is a decentralized autonomous community, and a DAO, or a DAO actually, is a decentralized autonomous organization. So what is the difference? Like simple layman's terms, not much. It's pretty much the same thing. I think that there might be like a slight difference in the way that it came into being and organized from a historical level. I believe, one of them was coined, I think, by Dan Larmer. And it wasn't used before that, before EOS. But yeah, that's basically, if you hear somebody talking about a DAC or a DAO, it's pretty much the same thing, I would say, right?
I'd read that a DAO is, I guess, a subclass of a DAC, and from my understanding, I believe DACs have a little bit more people involved, where they're doing certain tasks that it has to be done by a person, whereas the DAOs don't. They're a little more autonomous, I guess.
Yeah, that right? Totally makes sense to me, for sure.
Gotcha. Cool. So we're already going on 40 minutes. That was crazy. I want to get into some of the questions that I commonly see in our Telegram channel, just all Uplift related.
Sure.
But before I do, one last question. With your oversight, because I know you run across so many different projects, what do you think we should be paying attention to right now?
Yeah, okay, so this is a really difficult question for me to answer because I kind of have to play favoritism to
right. No
but I will try to generalize a little bit more. So like obviously, gaming projects and art projects, like I think this is huge. Like I mentioned earlier, I think this gives autonomy back to players and autonomy back to especially artists and musicians. What Mblu's done with Uplift Art is just brilliant, in my opinion, right? And I think it cuts out the middleman. It allows the middleman to be cut out, and for artists to actually make a valuable living on their own terms, put out their own materials, and they don't have to go through that system. Plus, for collectors, it's great because it proves ownership. On the gaming side of things, I think gaming is probably going to be one of the first areas where blockchain and crypto actually work. And if you look at things like Fortnite, for example, where people are going to the shop and putting like $100 or $200 or $300 into these games to be able to buy to be able to buy goods that once they've completed a level they never use again. That's crazy to me. And this is where I think gaming will shine, because it allows you that ownership of those NFTs or those in-game items to be able to possess and sell and even potentially make a profit off of, right? If you find that rare item in the game, then you could potentially sell it. And I think we're not even there yet, because I think some of the new games, like if you look at what's happening on Ultra.io, and I think Engine is involved with some of their own stuff on Ethereum as well. But some of these new games that are going to come out, right? If I go to the shop and I buy a game on PlayStation or Xbox, and there's no limited, weapons or things in the game, right? Like everything is on that cartridge. I can get it, right? But what happens when these games go full scale blockchain and some of these items are limited, right? Like what if you can only have like 5 diamond swords at the end of the level, right? This creates a whole new level of competition, and a whole new value add. Boyd as well. I really respect what those guys are doing. I have a beautiful view from my balcony in the middle of a city that drives me absolutely nuts at times. However, when I look across, the park, all I see is skyrise buildings with lights on at night, computers that haven't been shut down. Why are these computers not being used to run standard complex computations to be able to improve our lives? It's just crazy, right? Blockbase as well. This whole idea of trusting a company. Ledger is a classic example, right? Like Ledger had this breach. Ledger was fine in itself, but they had a breach. Their company had a breach whereby all of the information of all of the people who had bought Ledgers over the last year was leaked. And basically these people were becoming like targeted for a hack, right? And so I think something like Blockbase, which is like community operated, but still encrypted data that nobody's really in charge of, is really important. Finally, some other projects that I think are really good. Like, for example, I like the idea of Everpedia as well. They, if you don't know, are basically Wikipedia on the blockchain.
Okay.
Decentralized finance. There's a lot of great DeFi projects out there that allow people to lend or borrow or create or contribute to markets, which is great. Some of them I think will be in the NFT DeFi space. Collectibles, like there's a lot going on, and I'm just kind of scratching the surface, right? Like I think lightning fast transactions are gonna come eventually. We're gonna be using Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency at the shop, but probably not before gamers are using it, collectors are using it, corporations are using it to do things that the normal people don't even know are happening behind the scenes.
Wow. Got it. Cool.
Oh, and social media too. I forgot social media. Social media is huge. I think that's going to be big, right? I'm not on Voice. I live in a region that I'm not allowed on Voice, but like, if you can, like, I don't want Facebook to be on the blockchain because but I'd like to see like a new type of social media that is on the blockchain that has that much pull over people, right?
Yeah, I'm on Voice. I really enjoy it. I was introduced to it through a crypto writer who I believe you guys interviewed on one of your earlier Dakathon videos. But it's really cool. Would you say Voice, is it the biggest one right now on the blockchain?
It's hard because you'd have to kind of break that up, right? Like, so there are some there are things that are running on, like, would you consider something like Library that does live streaming of videos, like that are on the blockchain? Is that kind of the same as Voice? I'm not really sure. So I think, yeah, it's probably pretty big, but I don't think it's anywhere near the size of Medium, for example. I mean,
Gotcha.
If somebody could figure out how to convince Medium to put that on the blockchain, that would be massive, right? But yeah, like, I mean, there's a few random ones around the space. I think, on Ethereum, there's a platform that I use a lot called PublishOX. They're good because they don't really have their own token. People get tipped in Ethereum or Ampleforth or some of these other projects that keep rolling over. So that's kind of good because it limits the sell pressure of content creators, and they seem to be doing quite well as opposed to other ones who have tokens. But I mean, definitely check out Tribe. A discussions app is great. These are all EOS, and they're very fringe level because EOS is still so small. But there's other ones on other blockchains. But yeah, probably Voice is the biggest, but I would say probably Voice still has that hurdle for onboarding that needs to be solved and quickly.
Yeah, the invite thing and all that. So cool. Okay, cool. So I want to go into some of the questions. Some of them are just mine. But first one, I have a lot of questions, man. I'm sorry.
Hey, if you want your questions answered, just get somebody from the team online and pretend to interview them.
yeah, exactly. That's right. That's kind of what I'm doing. Okay, cool. So can you talk on the legality of being able to run the Uplift on Minecraft?
Yes and no. I'm not on the team of lawyers that the Uplift hired to say that it was totally cool. On the flip side of that, their engine is doing stuff with Minecraft. I think it's an open source server. I believe from my limited understanding of what's happening is as long as you're basically playing by their rules, Minecraft essentially allows people to take servers and run them. So there are some things that needed to be taken care of. However, the team of lawyers that is employed by the Uplift did do their due diligence, as far as I know, read through like a lot of legal documents, figured out, what we can and can't do. And that's essentially the guidebook that I'm following. That's all I can say on that. That's all I know, right? Like I have to defer to somebody else to tell me whether this is good or not. And so my trust goes with them because I don't see them as being, I see them as being really good at what they do. Let's just say that.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that was my general understanding. They're just playing within the, the licensing agreement. Cool. Is the Uplift, is it going to be PC only, or can I play that on my other platforms like Xbox Play?
So this is a question we get a lot, and you have to use Java. Minecraft Java is the only thing that will work with this world or with these worlds. And so right now, the bottleneck for not being able to do it on PlayStation or Xbox, I believe, comes from the Minecraft side, because Java isn't available over there. So yeah, Java, PC or Mac, I believe. I think there's like a one-time subscription fee to be able to get it. It doesn't go to us. There's no added benefit onto that. Basically, you have to go online and download the Java edition from Minecraft, and then whatever system you can play it on, you can enter our. You will be able to enter our world with all the other structures that we have in place with the passports and the probes and stuff like that.
For anyone wondering, the game costs, I think it's $26. It's not too bad. Not like a PlayStation game or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, we're in this crypto space and we're like, oh man, everything should be free. But I mean, okay, Ethereum transactions aren't free. I mean, an EOS wallet costs you what, $1, and people are complaining about it. But like, go to Walmart and look at like any PlayStation game ever, and how much are they now? Like, I'm not a gamer, but these are a couple $100, not to mention like all of the added bells and whistles that you might have to buy if you're playing online with friends. Like, yeah,
it's nuts. Wax has definitely spoiled me when I compare it to other blockchains, because I came from Ethereum and I was really big on Axie Infinity, which is still a really fun game, and I was blown away by the earning potential. But when I would go to do something really simple in game, like if I was just trying to buy another Axie, the gas price was nuts. And so that's where I jumped off that train, and then I discovered you guys, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a valid point there, right? Like we on this channel or with Corey, we give everyone a hard time. We're not maximalists. We give Block One a hard time all the time. The only people we don't give a hard time are Wax, and we really want to. We just don't know how to do it. Yeah, like Ethereum is great. I mean, except I don't like Ethereum because it's not workable. It's not usable, right? Like, if you have a blockchain that costs you more than what you would have to pay to do this in the real world that isn't blockchain, then why would you use it? The only people who are using it are maximalists, right? Like, so, I mean, they need to really fix that. And I think Wax did a really good job. And yeah, 100%. You log in with a social login. You don't own your own keys. Unless you port those to some other account that you manage yourself. However, most people don't care. They leave their money in the bank. They don't care that somebody else manages their account information, right? So, like, I mean, the 99% of the people don't care. They will never care. And unless we make crypto easier and more profitable than how it exists in the legacy system, then we're not ever going to get there. And like you said, I think gaming is going to be huge for that, right? Because once gamers realize that they don't have to pay these outrageous fees, that they don't have to, have a hassle to onboard, and that they can actually make money playing games, like without having to like start a YouTube live stream, which is essentially the only way to do it. Like, that's gonna be huge, right? I think for Wax too. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not looking back.
Very cool. When can we expect to receive our land in Roblox?
Well, okay, so I'm a philosopher, so I'm gonna play the philosopher's card here. If you participated in the rail plot or the land plot event, your land plots or rail plots are secured. At some point, there will be some sort of mechanism that will exchange the number of. So if you have a card, for example, that entitles you to 3 rail plots, there'll be a mechanism whereby that card will be exchanged for your 3 rail plots. However, the more specific answer to that is we don't really know, but we're going to be onboarding people quick enough to see if we can break it,
Mm.
but not quick enough so that we destroy the whole thing. Right? Like we don't want to have like 1 million people in the game and then have to like pick up the pieces because the server crashed.
Right.
Right. So I think probably Corey always references this, and I really like it. Like as responsibly as possible, to the borderline of like being, you know, irresponsible. but like, when can you receive it? Like soon, like before Ethereum 2.0, like 120%. Like
Right.
sometime this year. Yeah, like. You're gonna have them way before the end of this year, right? We're in, you know, March or whatever, right? Like before the summer, I'm hoping so. You know, tomorrow, no. When? I don't know. It depends on what other things you hold in your account. It depends on how smoothly the mapping process goes, because as you know, the community cluster 1.0 has just kind of moved maps. I think Chicken Cause on the designation to do that. There's some other things in the works, and yeah, I can't give you like an exact answer. And honestly, like I don't want to give you an exact answer, because then, you know, somebody's gonna say, well, you said in a month. I'm not gonna say in a month, but like it's not gonna be that long. I mean, it's not gonna be, it might be more than a month, it might be less than a month, but like if you work 52 weeks a year and you get one week of vacation time, and you spend 52 weeks a year waiting for that 1 week of vacation, you're not even going to be like, you're not going to be near that stress. That's all I'm going to say to you.
Cool. Beautiful. And on that, just really quick, I've been telling people that we're not even in the beta phase. Can you confirm that? We're so early on still. Some of us are saying this is alpha still. That's why, because I hear people sometimes they'll talk about, like, you know, reading over a website and I guess just not finding the exact info that they're looking for, and so they come to the Telegram channel. We're happy to help, but I want everybody to get an idea of where we're at in the process.
So rewind to about, like, I don't know, my guess is 12 minutes in. I'm going to check it later just to see if I'm right. But rewind to about, well, maybe not 12 minutes, because I think we were doing gratitudes. But anyway, rewind back to what we were talking about, and how I got into crypto. And at that time, the 2017, the 2018, I forget now, 2017, I think, ICO era, where everything was coming out. Every blockchain had a promise. How many of them actually exist still today? A very small fraction of them. And what did they all do? They promised something that they couldn't deliver on. What the policy of the Uplift world is to deliver something that we can onboard people onto. There are no false promises, right? We're not promising anything that isn't already built, that just doesn't need to be optimized. So in terms of beta, I don't know, like, when is the beta? Right now, there's a few people who are from the community cluster in world developing in creative mode, basically a metaverse that I think will probably in the end rival something like Decentraland. Like, I think this has the potential to put crypto voxels or Decentraland, like, you know, into the dark age of what they're trying to create. Why? Because it's already built and it's pretty much, you know, free for projects to come and join and be a part of that community cluster plot. Those guys, plus the OGs that basically started the server way back whenever they started it, before like crypto was even a thing to them, before they even had this idea to bring it. They're the only people in the world building. And there's potential to open up a multiple amount of different servers across the whole world is huge. So at what point do we go from beta to alpha to being a thing? Like, do we need, you know, SpaceX to come and join us for us to get out of like beta? Like, I don't know. By the way, go to my Twitter account and retweet the crap out of the SpaceX post, because, you know, we'd really like to have like, you know, Tesla on the show and like in the world. So like, you know, if I could come see your plot in a Tesla vamped car, like I would totally do it. It's not gonna happen. But yeah, like this is what I think, right? Like, is it beta? No. Is it alpha? No. Is there any such thing as beta and alpha? I'm not even sure what that means, really. Like, I would say probably we're going to jump right over the beta and we're going to go right to the alpha, because like once we open it up and people are, like you said, able to get in land and start, get in the game and start developing their land that is attached to those NFTs that are in their account, and also get rewarded in wax for moving around, I think beta's over. It's gone. It's finished, right? So I don't think there is a beta. I don't think there will ever be a beta. I think the beta was, not necessary. I think, my opinion, 100%. Corey, anyone else on the team could completely put me in my place and disagree, but that's my take on it.
Cool. Well, will there be more land and rail sales?
I'm gonna say yes.
Cool.
Like, the original plan of the world was to have this massive world the size of some interplanetary, system, gas giant type of thing. That didn't quite work because there was too many people that were going to potentially be on the server, and the rendering of the map as people moved around was just something too big to handle. I mean, I'm no scientist, but when I heard that, I was kind of thinking about the kind of idea behind when we look at, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Completely lost my train of thought. I'm not even going to come back. Anyway, there was something there, but we're going to have, that we know of, at least 4 or 5 other clusters. We've got the Genesis community cluster now, and Chicken Caw is going to be its own thing. There's probably going to be a walkway from the game spawn point when you first enter into the server, that has a portal that you can walk through into multiple worlds. Well, who's to say once one world is built, then others can't? The beautiful thing about whoever figured out that instead of having one giant server that was always going to be lagging, we have one giant web of servers. I mean, that was kind of obvious in hindsight because we are in blockchain, but we didn't even think about it. So we have one giant web of servers. Like, this is like sharding to the max. Like, this is everything that every major blockchain wanted to create. The ability to just I don't care. Yeah. Multiple dimensions, multiple worlds that you can go in, and depending upon the parameters of the world, you'll be in creative or you'll be in survival. You can take certain things with you. You'll need a passport to get into any of those worlds. I mean, like, there's tons of ideas that are floating around. Like, for example, there's going to be a world where there might be art galleries, right? Like, let's say you want to go to an art show. Maybe you get a 1-day passport. We don't really know yet how this is going to be organized, but I think the potential for having land sales in multiple worlds and multiple universes is just huge, right? Like, what's to stop, us from having Wall Street in there, where we can go and throw eggs at their high tower buildings? Like, I don't know. But we already know that there's going to be a financial district. We know that there's Chicken Caw. We know that there's a community cluster. There's a few other things that I can't say that we know are coming, right? So yeah, I think.
And each of those potentially with their own land and rail.
I'm gonna guess at a yes on that.
Got it. I've definitely heard land being spoken on, being sold in the future, but I haven't heard too much on the rail side. So I might have just overlooked it, but cool.
Yeah, I can't actually say anything about the rail. I'm just assuming that the size of the plots, so I think that will be maybe not always a thing. It could be a thing in the future, but it won't always. And I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm guessing that Chicken Caw, the district that it's in, I'm guessing that, because that's their district, that they'll be the ones to decide whether those rail plots are going to be sold or not.
I see.
And they might not be, right? So I think the thing with the community plot was to sell those rail plots. And I think in maybe the old world as well, like I'm not really sure if the Bitcoin monument pyramid plots will go up for sale or not. But yeah, it could go either way, and I think that'll be more of a world case by case type of scenario if I'm understanding that correctly.
Got it. Cool. What are probes and how do I use them?
Different channel and not PG-13.
Not that kind.
This is a really good question. I think this is a little bit confusing and a little bit difficult, so I'm glad you asked that. Think of a probe as, sci-fi scientific terms. You launch something at a distant planet and it lands and it kind of stakes the claim, right? And so what probes are going to allow people to do, because in order to figure out a technical way, in order to get people the land that they want, like maybe you really love Generios and you want to plot that, you can see Generios Mountain and Michael EOS USA's roller coaster. And there's a big plot of many community, different designations of size in there. And you feel that like putting a little, area where you offboard the station and then having the ability to go to both of those plots is valuable. What if 1,000 other people or 100 other people want that same plot? How do you decide? So everyone who has those rail plots in their, or the land plots in their accounts, those people are guaranteed a plot. Now, what size of plot or where that plot is, nobody knows. However, if you want to stake your claim for a certain plot, there will become a time where you can go and drop your probe onto that land. And the first person to drop the probe onto the land, as far as if I'm understanding this correctly, will be the one who gets that piece of land.
Got it.
Now, where I think this is quite interesting is, I think you can only use one account at a time, right? Like you can only use one account at a time. You can't use one account multiple times, right? So there's a really interesting gamification thing here, because you're going to have to race for the land that you want. And then, it's not like a whale game where you've got 100 land pieces and you're going to get all your first choices, right? You can only go as fast as the bottleneck will let you go. And that's going to be the same whether you have one land plot or 100 land plots. And, maybe nobody else will ever, want the piece of land that you want. And you'll get it automatically, right? Or there'll be no competition for it. So I think this just allows people the ability to try to get some land that they want where they want it, but still the randomization of, ending up with plots that aren't bought and sold because you are who you are, or you have what money you have, if that makes sense.
Right. Do you guys know yet if we're going to be able to trade locations?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that question. Can you rephrase it?
Yeah. So like if you're my neighbor and, you want to plot a location that I have, and I'm trying to, move into your spot, can we trade coordinates? Yeah.
So if I understand everything correctly, so don't quote me on this if it turns out to be wrong. Sure. But yes, 100%. Because how this is designated is there is an NFT in your account that gives you development rights over that piece of land. Now you could be careful with this, please, everyone. This is how bad shit happens. But you could potentially say to me, look, man, I've got this 50 by 50 plot. You've got this 50 by 50 plot. I'd rather be close to these guys. And maybe do you want to trade with me? No problem. We could set up a trade order. You could trade your NFT to me, direct trading, no cost, no wax involved. And after that trade went through, I would now have that NFT in my account, which would give me development rights to the piece of land that you were on, and you would lose them because you no longer have that NFT. So yeah, I like these NFTs are to do. You can do whatever you want with them. I mean, like I could give you an NFT, or you could give like your son an NFT, or you know, you could give your friend an NFT because you want them to come into the game, right? Like this is, yeah, I don't see any issues with any of that at all.
Got it. When the game finally releases, are we going to have the ability to offer the fractional NFTs right away, or is that something that's coming in the future?
I'm not quite sure where you got that information, so I might be a little bit confused on what you're talking about there.
No worries. I remember in one of the videos that were posted, might have been Corey or someone else who had talked about having a building with multiple floors and being able to lease out those floors.
Yeah, so I know a couple projects who are working on that as well in their community clusters too. However, I'm not really sure where we are on that whole fractionalization thing, because that's a whole different set of codes,
right?
That would have to be implemented by that land. Like I personally like the idea and I want to use it as well, but I would say that that's probably not going to be live as soon as yeah, I can't say this for sure, but I'm guessing that it won't be live for the simple reason that I think there's a lot more things in there that need to be, you know, dealt with. And rather than wait until everything is done perfectly, I think we're just going to release it as fast as we can in stages is my guess.
I'm excited for that. That's going to be really cool. Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. Is the game only going to be PG-13, or can I build things like casinos and the like?
So according to the Minecraft terms and conditions, it's PG-13. However, I don't know. Are casinos not PG-13?
Right.
Like, what constitutes PG-13 in video game world? I'm not quite sure the answer to that question. And I think maybe like things like casinos might be okay as long as it doesn't violate Minecraft's terms of services. However, like giant penis statues, probably not okay. But I mean, the Washington Monument, it's probably okay. And it's really not that much different, is it? So I think it's just, yeah, I mean, I would like to build a Japanese garden at some point. And I won't be surprised if it, you know, gets, you know, kind of a warning, but I can take a picture of a Japanese garden and it doesn't look like it's PG-13, but it's just a couple mountains of stones with concentric circles around it. So I think there is going to be some leeway there. However, I think like just anything like really obviously really bad is going to be, you know, definitely bannable offenses and off limits. So, and that brings me to another thing as well, right? Like you will always have these NFTs in your account, right? These will always belong to you. However, if there's some major infraction, right, like that you commit or cause in the game, like you're out, you're done, you're out of the game. Like there might be some recourse for getting back in, but like if you really do something that's, I can't even imagine what anything like this would be, right? Knowing the team that we work behind, I'm sure that there would be something that would, you know, help. But like if we find, I think one of the things is like gaming the system. Like if you figure out a way to game the system and like drain wax from like everyday users and you get caught, then you're done, you're out, right? Now, do we ban your NFTs? No. Do you lose your NFTs? No, that can never happen, but you're never allowed to set foot in the game again. So I just want to clarify that, right? Like this PG-13 rule, I mean, there's probably going to be some recourse. Again, I don't know. Maybe this is somewhere where like DAX and DAOs could potentially come in. Like maybe there could be like a council or a committee that could say, okay, well, this is what we got to figure out. These are the Minecraft terms of services. Now somebody is complaining about this, whether it's PG-13 or not. Maybe that goes to the DAC or DAO and they make a decision in the like distant future, right? Like not tomorrow, not when the game first launches, but like these are things that, again, we're kind of trying to figure out a way around, because, you know, not everything is as it seems. I mean, I can walk into a a convenience store right now across the street from my house, and at eye level where children are walking by are comic books of, you know, naked high school girls that, you know, businessmen buy and walk out of the store with. And I've had friends who have actually complained about this because their kids go into the store and they see that at eye level, right? So I'm a little bit confused on this as well. And I think basically that's why we decided we're just going to follow Minecraft's terms of services agreement. So anything that wouldn't be allowed in a Minecraft game that would get you banned is probably going to have ramifications in our world as well.
Gotcha. I saw El Gierex had a question here. If we buy at market in land or rail, do we need to check if it was banned? So I think the answer is no, right?
So it can't be banned. Again, I'm gonna maybe I need to clarify this again, right? That NFT will never be banned. I don't see any way that it can be banned, right? The user of that NFT might get banned from the game, but the NFT will always be connected to that plot.
Yeah. So they can still list and sell it if they'd like, and you can buy it and use the land plot with no issues.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Cool. So closing in on the end of my questions here, can you go over the creative and survival modes?
Sure. So there was a big debate about this. I was partially involved, but I deferred to other people who had more things to say about it. Creative mode basically allows you to generate any kind of block and build anything that you want to build. It also allows you some other perks in the game as well. Now, I'm a Minecraft noob, so if I've got this a little bit wrong, please do forgive me. But like, I'm basically building an underwater city. Like, I built Jenner Eos Island, and you know, I just used a bunch of gold because that was the color of yellow that I wanted to show the symbol. So creative mode essentially allows you to do all sorts of really interesting things. It allows you to basically use any kind of block that you want. So I want to use some gold. Okay, I want a block of gold, and I'm gonna put some here just because I want to build a big block tower of gold. Now, if you're in creative mode, you can do that. If you're not in creative mode and you're in survival mode, you've got to figure out how to get that gold. You've got to go, you've got to hunt it down. You've got to have some kind of reason. If you're in creative mode, you can't fly, right? I mean, right now I'm in creative mode. I can fly. I can go up in the sky. I can see the Jenner EOS symbol here that I created that is a giant mountain with a whole side of gold, right? I can see a whole plot overview of my land, right? In creative mode, I can not have to worry about whether I drowned or not if I go underwater. I mean, so I can come underwater. I can swim around. I can do whatever I want. I can see whatever I can see. And I don't have to worry about anything, right? I can spawn these blocks to build this underwater passageway, which will become a forest inevitably without having to worry about it, right? I can come down here and I can build this like giant tapestry on the back of the wall and, you know, set up all of these spaces. This is all done in creative mode. Now, the problem with it is also the advantage to it. The advantage to creative mode is that you can have projects that can come in and they can do these awesome builds. Like, this is nothing. Like, I just tunnel under the ground and build cool structures. Like, some of the other things that you guys have seen in the Telegram channel are amazing, right? Like, there's QR codes built into the game. Like, there's some amazing builds, like some amazing buildings. These can all be done in creative mode because they can be done quickly because you don't have to worry about the materials or where you're sourcing them from. However, you don't have to eat in creative mode. You don't have to gather things in creative mode. So there's no economy in creative mode. right? So different servers will have creative and survival attributes. Chicken Caw, for example, will be survival. So when you enter into Chicken Caw, you will be in survival mode. And if you don't eat, you will die. If you spend too much time underwater, you will die. What happens when you die? Well, you respawn to your respawn point and you lose all of your stuff, right? So you won't be able to go into Chicken Caw in creative mode. It won't be allowed, right? Like the minute that you go in there, those creative mode powers will be revoked. However, it adds a level of economy to the game, whereby now if you need to eat, you can potentially purchase something or get something or trade something in the game from someone who has a little shop there. Again, I'm not exactly sure on the tokenomics of how this has been set up or what's exactly the way that we're, I think, in the process of writing the rule book for this again, so that we don't step on Minecraft's terms of services. So don't quote me on that, but it does allow for this sort of in-game economy, whereby if you have people in creative mode, there is no in-game economy. And so one thing to realize is that the community cluster will always be creative, like 100%. You can go in there and like the people who are building can build out of whatever they want and do these awesome builds, but they'll never be able to sell that gold. They'll never be able to dump it on the market in order to get an advantage in a survival world part of the game, which is kind of the nice thing about a portal. It's almost like an interdimensional portal, whereby something that you possessed in one world might not be something that you possessed in the other. If that was clear, maybe, I'm not sure.
Cool. Last three. You talked on it a little bit. What are your plans once you're in game and playing with everyone else?
So I have a question for you, actually. Like, are you beginning to regret this? Because like I talk a lot when it's my show. Like you had no idea. You had no idea you were going to get into this deep. With just listen. Never interview Jimmy D if you don't have at least an hour and a half. That's.
I'm sure everyone here is going to appreciate this, man. They want to know you guys.
I ask any of my friends. I like talking, so it's kind of nice to just be able to say what I want to say and not have to ask other questions. So anyway, sorry, three more, and I totally forgot that last.
No worries. What are your plans? So you spoke on building the underground city. What else do you have planned to do once the game's released?
For the gender EOS plot.
Just in general, when you go to play the game, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish in there, or not even accomplish? Yeah, what are you trying to build out? Or
so I'm not a gamer, but I've been having a lot of fun building this. And I don't necessarily always design stuff. Like as a permaculturalist, for those of you that don't know what permaculture is, it's basically a design science. And instead of like flattening the land and dumping a bunch of chemicals in to grow tomatoes, you look at the land and you usually make it not flat if you have anything that you want to do with it, and you create like little areas that are mini biozones to be able to grow these things, right? And it amplifies the capacity of what is already there, right? So you trap water, you create shade spaces, you use different plants and different animals to be able to produce the ecosystem conditions. Basically, Mother Earth or nature is your guide, right? And this is not a hippie science. This is like a really well thought out, like really well researched kind of design thing, like on the same level as like biomimicry type of stuff, right? The people who design these plots are really smart, and that's what I like about this game, because I can go in there with my little 3D Lego blocks and I can like just look at what's there, and I'm gonna build a forest underground. Is it a real forest? No. Would I rather be building a real forest? Maybe. Not sure anymore. But I can experiment, right? Actually, I know a good friend of yours. I've been talking to him. I'm going to out him here, not by name, but I've been talking to him, and we're actually probably going to bring him on the show at some point with Dwayne, and we're going to talk about what he's going to be doing in the game. Because one of the things that he's going to be doing is he's going to be essentially trying to like replicate some of the things that he's doing real life in the game on his plot. And so we're like really super excited to talk to him about this, because I had a message marathon with him the other day, and Dwayne's a permaculturalist. Yeah. So, and domain's a permaculturalist, and so we want to see these ideas, right? So in answer to that, that's kind of my goal in this game, is to build like a showcase for various projects or various like ideologies that I'm in, right? Like a lot of places like Boyd or Blockbase, these are kind of really cool places that are going to be advertising domains. I want my plot to be more of an advertising domain about ideologies, right? Because that's part of what Jenner EOS is. However, I am pretty super excited to go and play by the survival rules in like Chicken Caw. So I think those two things are going to go like hand in hand. Like there's no animals. Like I'm kind of a little bit disturbed, to be honest, because like when the things got moved, like all of my animals didn't make the move. They all died. And there were like, you know, animals that like had real world purposes. There were like, you know, underground fish ponds and stuff. Now they're just these empty ponds of fish. So I am hoping that some of that comes back. But like in the survival mode, I just want to, you know, have fun with it. But in the design mode, I want to, you know, showcase, you know, what things might actually look like in the real world from an ideological perspective.
Yeah, I know for sure. The permaculture on the blockchain, my buddy's really interested in. My brother-in-law, by the way, just FYI. Yeah. But cool.
Yeah, and he's an amazing human being. Like he's like, you're pretty awesome as well, but like he's just a really cool guy to talk to. He's just really awesome.
There are some animals coming back. I spent tonight walking them to my plot.
Oh, that's great. That might be a little bit more problematic, Sue. You know where I live, in the middle of the ocean. I will have to build an over walkway. But yeah, fair enough.
Cool. What does the Uplift look like in 1 year?
Nothing like it does today. I mean, from an in-game perspective, nothing like it does today. I mean, it's going to be insane, the amount of builds and the amount of people that come in. And I think, like, I'm going to guess that a year from today, we might actually have more people in there that are Minecrafters than are, you know, blockchain-based people. I think that the Uplift could potentially be a place where people can learn about wax. People can, and Corey and I have talked about this channel as well. Like we originally started this channel just to do 5 weekly shows, and then it got ported into like kind of being, at that time we called it With Corey Cottrell and Jimmy D, but then we changed it to the Uplifters. We had people like Greg come on, we had people like you come on. We're gonna bring other people in. So I think that again, the Uplift can be a showcase for people to show their talents, what they can build, show their interests. They can communicate with other people of like-mindedness, wandering around. It can be an advertising platform. And it can be a game all wrapped up into one. And I think it'll be a really good place to connect people with projects and what they're doing. And I also think that it'll be a really good place to connect non-blockchainers with cryptocurrency, and especially in particular wax, and get them, you know, set up and how to understand how to, you know, start wallets, how to play games, how to get involved with things that their kids are doing, right? Like what kid doesn't like Minecraft, right? Especially when, you know, weird Uncle Jimmy's playing with them on the other side of the world. So I think I can't answer that question. Like I'm already blown away. Like if you would have asked me this 6 months ago, I didn't even know about it. But if you would have asked me this 3 months ago, I might have said it would resemble something that we have today. But it's like the incredible team that's like come on board, the incredible work that's being done by Corey and everyone else who's there on the back end is just amazing. And I think we're exponentially past even predicting where this is going to go. It's going to be what the community makes it. It's going to be what the community develops. And like, I had no idea that like master builders were going to come in and do some of the stuff that they were going to do. So I'm like, I just can't wait to see, you know, what happens.
Oh man, it's going to be nuts. You know, it's going to be great. It's going to be really cool. So last question. Can you talk on anything that's to come that we might not already know?
About the Uplift specifically, no. So Uplift Art, if you're not part of Uplift Art, you should definitely join Uplift Art. Uplift Art is basically a sister project to, well, the Uplift World is basically a sister project to Uplift Art. One is, the visionary prowess of Blue and Uplift Art was kind of, melded with Corey's visionary ideologies about the Uplift World and Minecraft, and these have become quite almost as associated as their musical endeavors together. So something that just got released recently was Uplift Art. Blue just released his new concept for digital vinyl, which is a really cool kind of NFT that I think is going to be a really cool kind of, throwback moment to like how NFTs are viewed. I think what we're going to see with both the Uplift World and Uplift Art, and this isn't necessarily tied to either project specifically, but I think that, Uplift Art, for example, they built a tool to be able to look inside people's accounts and see what NFTs and other assets they were holding and target those for random drops of goodness. So I think you're going to see that extended into the Uplift World community once those land plots and things go out there with the Genesis accounts. And I also think that you're going to see some really cool things happening that maybe are beyond builds. For example, we're already able to lay like art and 2D images on the wall and backlight them. I think at some point you're going to see little trigger paths whereby you can actually watch a YouTube video right from within the Uplift World. I know that there's people that are like working on that. Again, not necessarily Uplift centric, but we're trying to figure out how to do this because I won't shut up about it. So Corey's like, dude, you got to stop saying that every episode because we haven't figured it out yet. But I think you're going to be able to like see these videos and things like this. So I think from that side of things and from the Uplift Art side of things, I also think that what you're going to see is a lot of art and music that is able to, as the space progresses, kind of almost be, it already kind of exists. Pixios kind of was working with a company, and there's a bunch of projects on Ethereum that are kind of releasing their own versions of like digital photo frames and stuff like that. So think like when you turn on your TV and it's connected to Google Chrome, and you have that backlit of like the random slides of nature or space or whatever. And I think in time, like very soon, within the next year, probably some company out there in the crypto space is going to create some sort of device that allows people to view their NFTs, from their living room or from the wall in a shop. And I would suspect that's probably going to be pretty huge for Uplift Art, because I would suspect that's where Uplift Art will probably come into their own. Like, just imagine this digital vinyl video. You're having a party at your house, a dinner party, you pop it on and you have this really cool, digital vinyl thing that's spinning, or even, I'm Not the Bubble with the artwork and things like that. So I can totally see both projects setting trends and pushing boundaries as the technology catches up with the ideologies that are happening in the background. As for other projects that I'm associated with, I think sometimes we're off to a slow start, but as the world accepts crypto and understands the validity of it, and especially as the world that is already in crypto gets more frustrated with Ethereum gas prices and the slowness of other blockchains, that they're going to naturally gravitate, I hope, towards EOSIO based chains. So hopefully things like Boyd will make social logins easier. Things like Blockbase will make the ability to secure data in an encrypted, open source, transparent form easier. Like, I think it's just really exciting, the space that we live in. And like, for me to talk about what I don't know, sometimes these are things that like I actually don't know. Like, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think I know what's going on, and by the nighttime there's like 1,000 new ideas that are just floating around in back rooms of Telegram channels. So like that's I'm going to say this again, like that's one of the most exciting things about being part of this team is there's a vision, but the vision is growing with the community and in part from people like yourself who are interacting in the community. We'll go in there and we'll see what you guys are doing, and it's like, okay, wait, hold the phones, and a DM will get sent, you know, to the back channels of the projects that we're working on. Okay, wait a minute, like somebody just said this, like how do we capitalize upon this? How do we put this in motion? And that actually happens a lot. Like the community for the Uplift art and the Uplift world is a huge part of our success. And I can't stress that enough, that the amount of brain power that is happening in the social platform and on those Telegram channels, just between people having random ideas of things that they want to do or they want to create, is just amazing by far. I'm not saying that Blue and Corey and other people on the team don't have brilliant ideas. They do, but it's that combination of like where we want to head and the reaction of the community that basically, you know, balances the ship in one way or another and keeps it afloat, not only afloat, but basically turns it into like a jetliner that gets you from point A to point B like 1,000 times faster.
Right on. That's very cool. And I just want to highlight, Cowie, definitely, right? He's on the same wavelength as us. Super exciting. How do we put that into words? Everybody needs to pay attention to this.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna go into something else. Please continue.
No. But I sorry.
Cool. I was gonna highlight one thing on the Uplift art side. I got to watch Blue and Corey speak with Ken Bozak today, and they were discussing some of the mechanics behind this. I guess there are these NFT crates that Uplift Art is offering, where you buy this pack and inside come, you know, variation 6, I think it was, or 20, 25 NFTs. And so it's basically a bundle. And it's really cool. So they have the burn mechanics. A lot of us know about that. You burn your NFTs, you get a higher rarity of that NFT. But a cool thing is, if you get the collector's edition, you hold that in your wallet. I believe they were saying that's gonna grant you some future perks, similar to how our Genesis NFTs do. So everybody watching, you know, try to get some of those.
Yeah, so I think that that concept actually was born out of Uplift Art originally, with the Genesis account. I think it was my Bitcoin Bull and then the original one. Before the remix, and then there was one more as well. But yeah, I think that's, you know, going to be a thing going forward, right? Like the community is kind of everything. And to go back to what you were saying about like, where do we see this in the next, you know, few months or few years? I think that's something that the Uplift world, as in particular, has done right. If you look at some of these other decentralized platforms, it's a bunch of crypto people that are building a place for people to come and learn about crypto, and they're buying land to be able to do it. Right. The Uplift world isn't that. It's basically giving people a place to come and build, and communities can come and participate for free. I mean, you never have to purchase any land to be able to get in the game. All you need is a passport. You can come around, you can wander around, you can see some of these awesome builds, you can interact with people. This is, to me, mind-blowing in the sense that more projects aren't doing this. We're 1% of the world. We're 1% of the population. Right. Why are we trying to charge people obscene amounts of money to onboard them into something they don't even understand? Right? Like, this is just driving me absolutely nuts. So I think this is where Uplift Art and the Uplift world shine, because like you said, we understand the value of community, and without community, we're nothing, right? It's the same as you being a content creator, or Blue being a musician, or you know, the little kid who's sitting at home live streaming his video games. If nobody's paying attention, the value is zero. Right. I mean, I could create something that I feel is an amazing piece of art, but if nobody ever looks at it, then the value is zero. somebody who's famous could create a really shitty piece of art, and it could sell for millions of dollars just because their name's attached to it, right? This is the world that we live in. But the community that seems to have formed around both of these projects seems to be one of the most positive and relentlessly giving and passionate communities that I've ever seen in my time in this space. So yeah, I actually just really want to thank you though for having me on and just letting me go crazy and talk. And I do, my story is a little bit long, and I do try to like cut it back as much as humanly possible. But I really like connecting with people like yourself and just being allowed to express my unhindered perspective on things, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. I don't have to watch my P's or Q's. I can just say what I want to say, which is sometimes nice.
Absolutely. And yeah, I feel the exact same way. I feel like I have the honor, right? I get to connect with people that I'm not running in your guys' circles. I hang out with some really normal people, and to be able to speak with you, it's an honor.
That's funny that you say that, because that's the same thing with me. I'm not in anyone's circles, and I think like a lot of us that are behind these projects, we kind of feel the same way. Like we get ourselves on screen, and then we become these people that are now public personalities and personas, but we're just kind of normal people too at the end of the day, right? So,
absolutely.
You mentioned Uplift Art. Before we go, do you want me to share this digital? How about we wrap it up with this digital vinyl MVP? Have you seen it yet?
I don't know that I have.
Okay, let's just let me pull it up here. It's kind of cool, and it's like, yeah, I go to the Uplift Art website and read about it, because the concept behind it is actually really interesting. But basically, just think like old world retroactive. Old world retroactive meets like new blockchain centric world. And let's see, I just need to, so this is M Blue, and let me make sure that I can share the window here, because I've never actually done it before. And this is his, like I said, his MVP kind of idea that he wanted to. I'm hoping the application window, there we go. All right, sweet. And yeah, let's play us out for this. So digital vinyl, you can check it out. Check out the article. Pop into Uplift Art. Do you have any shows that you like? Raul, definitely sign up for his YouTube channel. Probably after this is over, we'll cut the screen. But if you want to hang around and just chat for 1 or 2 more minutes, Raul, that would be good. But for the rest of you, enjoy, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
There it is. Shoot. They might not be able to hear it.
Sorry, what was that, Raul?
They might not be able to hear it. Hmm.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure if that came through or not. It's possible that from the comments you guys couldn't hear that, so I'm really sorry about that.
Go check it out.
But yeah, pop into the Uplift Art Telegram channel and you'll be able to find it. And yeah, you know, I just got a new mic, so it was blaring in my ears and I was totally having trouble. But Raul, thanks as always, and I really hope to have you back on the channel at some point. And absolutely. I hope to, you know, see your other interviews with some other people that I know you're planning on doing. So
yes, I already have those lined up, so soon enough.
It was a pleasure. I'm gonna do the thing. You know, it's your show, but if you're okay with it,
go for it.